Hello everyone, this is Ali Reza. Today we will talk about a topic that you may like a lot. Until now, we talked about computer history. We talked about compilers. We talked about interpreters. We talked about machine code. Today, we will talk about how we can write in our own language and subscribe it to the memory of computer in a language that memory understands. So that is the job of compiler, of course, but what is a programming language? What are the differences there? Why do we have different programming languages? Back in the history, the very first language that we had to talk with computers were binaries, binary alone, 0 and 1. And that was the punch cards I showed you in the very first video about how computers work. After that, people understood that, hey, binary programming is time consuming, it's hard, and it's very easy to make a mistake. Just a single 0 or 1 being swapped with each other. If you just write one single 1 instead of one single 0, the whole program would fail. And debugging it, finding issues, where was the problem? It's impossible. It's really impossible. If you look at the thumbnail I had on that video, you see two people standing and having tapes in their hand, and that tapes is just punches. There are holes in there, and they are looking at the holes, trying to figure out where did that single error rise. That was old days. After that, people started writing in a little bit more friendly language called assembly. Now, don't make a mistake. Assembly is still very close to machine code or binary, but it's a little bit more understandable. Still, it was hard, it was time consuming, and a person that would want to write binary or assembly should know about memory addresses, their usages, and this knowledge should be very clear in his mind. These days, with the operating systems that we are working on, it's almost impossible. So people started developing what we call high-level languages. High-level languages are some syntax that we write our code in that is understandable to us, to humans. It's far, far away from the language that computer can understand. It's impossible for computer to understand the high-level language directly, but for us, it makes sense. For example, I will not talk about the meaning of the syntax that I'm writing right now, but let's take a look. For an integer, a whole number, we call it I to start as 0 until I is smaller or equal to 10. We increase I each time by 1. We want to do something. What we want to do? We just want to print the value of I in a screen. Now, isn't it understandable to us? We are defining a whole number. It doesn't have any decimal values. It's an integer. And we are starting from 0. Each time we print, we go back, we increase the number by 1. We check if we are still smaller or equal to 10, and then we print it. So what we will get, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and finally 10. The next iteration, it will become 11. The check here will fail. This will not execute. And that's it. That's a high-level language for you, okay? As simple as that. However, computer doesn't understand this. And this is where compilers come in, converting this code into binary. And God help you if you want to understand only these two lines in binary. So this is a programming language, a syntax of some humanly understandable words that we put together in such a way that will make sense to us as humans. And then compilers will convert it to bytecode so that the machine will understand the code by itself. However, we have different languages. The very first one was binary, and then it became assembly. After assembly, we had many different languages like basics. I remember this one, right? Like Pascal, like Fortran. I remember the names Pascal and Fortran. I never wrote code for these two, but I have experience with basics. And I'm not talking about Visual Basics.net. No. Go way back, into 90s, into 80s. After these, C was born, and from C, we started forking some languages, C++. And after that, we forked another language from it, and we call it C#. C# and C++ are based on C. Then we have newer languages like Java, and by newer I mean newer than C, not by C#. We have Python, and as you saw, some names like Ruby and others are born, and all of them are languages. Okay, so Perl, Ruby, Python, Java, C#. We can't call HTML a programming language. It's a little bit of a dilemma here. HTML and CSS, you can't call these two programming languages because, well, they are more like a humanly readable syntax that only web applications will understand. However, PHP is a programming language, and ASP.NET is a programming language, and so on and so forth. Here we have a word that has a very special meaning, .NET, because we see some names like VB.NET, C#. Actually, the complete name for it is .NET. You already saw it, ASP.NET. C++, the complete name is .NET. So what is this .NET at the end of these languages? And by the way, VB is the Visual Basics. So it's the child of the old Basics language. The .NET here means a very special platform and a very special compiler. This compiler is developed by Microsoft. So the same company that is developing Windows operating system. And that's the meaning of the .NET. It's the compiler that Microsoft is developing and expanding and using for compiling different languages into the machine code. That's the meaning of .NET. Now, again, when it comes to .NET, we have two words, .NET itself and .NET framework. What's the difference between these two? .NET is the complete whole solution for a compiler. .NET framework is not the complete solution, but it's a child of .NET, I should say, that makes it possible for us to compile some codes into the machine learning based on the standards of older .NETs, not the new ones, older .NETs, so that computer understands them. So it's not the complete solution like .NET, and it's older. However, why is this one .NET framework important? Because up until now, Unity 3D game engine is still using .NET framework. There is a long historical talk about migrating Unity 3D toward using the .NET itself. As much as I know, it's still under progress and not happening yet. They are working on it, but as I said, it's a very long history of maybe 6 or 7 or even 8 years of talk about migrating from .NET framework toward .NET 6, and now it's .NET 8 now, but they are still talking about migrating. So don't get your hope up and think that, hey, in the next month or even year, this will happen. No. Unity is still using .NET framework. However, it doesn't affect us as program developers for game as much as it is impacting Unity developers themselves. We can still make very fun and good games to play and sell using .NET Framework. However, yes, if they go and make it compiled by .NET itself, of course we will have a better days as programmers, but they are still not doing it. So it doesn't affect us that much. However, it's a good knowledge to know, and that's .NET for you. Going back to the different languages, you may ask a question. Why do we have so many different languages out there? I mean, why did we drop C and started using C++? Why did people migrate from C++ to C#? And why some people are still using C++ instead of C#? Why did Java born? Why did Python born? And what's the difference, for example, between PHP and ASP? And different questions like that. Well, I'm not covering the difference between PHP and ASP.NET because this is for web developers and I'm not a web developer. So I'm not qualified to talk about the differences between PHP and ASP.NET. However, when it comes to this section, I can give you some basic information. Again, I am a decent programmer. I'm not a software engineer. So I may not know the exact details about the differences, but I have some decent knowledge about why some people are still using C++ and why some people talk very highly about Python. And I can definitely guide you toward the learning of the proper language for your future jobs and for your future targets. So if you like, you can follow and subscribe the channel, and I will give you one video per day talking about different languages, talking about different aspects until you have a very good grasp and understanding of every one of these languages. Before we go any more forward, I think you already figured something, and I wanted to talk about it in the previous video and I totally forgot. My grammar and my talking on English language is not, maybe it's not even 80% correct, because I'm not English by native. My native language is not English at all. And I may have grammar issues in my talking. I may have misspelling when I type something. My talking actually may not be your normal way of talking and understanding English, but I'm trying to give you an understandable sentence, and I'm really struggling on it. I'm not sure if it's a voice or not, but sometimes I struggle on it. So I apologize in advance, and I hope that you will like these videos. And if you like them, then please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button so that you will get alarmed each time a video comes up in the channel. Have fun, everyone. Bye.